please donate and subscribe, because otherwise you won't hear Andrew Perez like you're going to now. And he is a consultant, a strategist, and he's a liberal. And I want to put the question to you about democracy. This government has been down in every poll for 2 years. People just don't like what it's doing. People say, well, we don't like Trudeau. No, they don't like the policies of this government. So in the name of democracy, should we not have an election instead of a government that's going to hang on for another year just because they're making more money?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, a mandate is 4 years. Now,
right.
The Conservatives have about 42% public support.
Yep.
So, I'm going to say 42% of Canadians are chomping at the bit for an election. They want one today.
Right.
But
a lot of people say things are going wrong, so we want a government that's going to put things right.
Fair enough. But the other 55 to 60% of Canadians, some are probably apathetic, won't vote, and the rest are divided up between the Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc.
And the Bloc, yes.
And the Greens, the progressive parties.
Yes. So throw it out there and let's just see where it goes and have a new government that's more representative of what Canadians are thinking these days.
Well, so it will be up to this minority parliament, and Mr. Poilievre has been crystal clear. He's already brought forward 2 non-confidence motions that have failed. So it will be up to the NDP and the Bloc to decide, are they able to get more policy concessions from this government? Are they ready to be plunged into an election? So it will ultimately be a very political decision by those 2 leaders.
Which brings me to the point that this government right now is surviving partly because of the Bloc support, even though the Bloc is putting the boots to them by the end of October, but the Bloc is supporting them. Is that not, again, anti-democratic for a government to be in power supported by a party that wants to split up the country?
I mean, you could argue that. I'm uncomfortable with the Bloc's influence in this parliament. However, on the flip side, with the ending of the Supply and Confidence Agreement, this is now a conventional minority parliament. We've seen dozens of minority parliaments over the last 40 or 50 years, and that's the nature of a minority parliament. The government has a minority and relies on support from the opposition.
And usually when there's a deal for support, 72 with the NDP, and when that deal is up, there's an election. The NDP deal was up, but Trudeau is staying on because he's trying to stay in power for as long as possible, so he can have his progressive Canada that most people do not want. That's why I say it's not democratic.
So we'll see if the NDP or the Bloc has the nerve to trigger an election. I do think there is immense risk for Singh, despite his extreme political rhetoric about this government being all for corporate interests and caving to the interests of big business. Let's see what he actually is going to do.
Well, Andrew, and you and I both know from being in politics, it comes down to his money. The end of that one, 3 minutes. To those of you who have subscribed and donated, a heartfelt thank you. You're keeping us on the air. If you're watching and you haven't, please try to do so, because 4 years ago, we started this show because there needed to be independent analysis. Now more than ever, with the Online Harms Act. Once that gets into law, it's been passed once by the House, there are going to be hundreds of bureaucrats censoring the news in Canada, censoring this show. We need to keep it on the air. Thanks for your support.